The city was silent in a way that felt wrong. Tall metal towers rose on both sides of the empty street, their sharp edges cutting into the pale light above. Blue lines of energy ran through the walls like frozen veins, glowing softly but without warmth. The ground was smooth metal, cold and clean, untouched by footsteps. Far away, machines hummed in slow, steady rhythms, but no voices answered them. No footsteps, no life. Silence ruled the city. A human man named Ethan walked carefully through the long corridor with his two young daughters close beside him. One held his hand, the other stayed just behind his shoulder. Ethan's eyes moved constantly, scanning corners, doorways, shadows. In this city, silence was never peaceful. Silence mon danger. Humans were allowed here, but only as workers, cleaners, repair hands. They did not belong. They were tolerated, nothing more. Ethan knew this well. He had learned it the hard way. Then he heard it, crying. It was faint at first, almost lost beneath the sound of distant machines. Soft, broken, afraid. Ethan stopped walking. His daughters froze too. One of them tightened her grip on his hand. The crying came again. Ethan turned slowly toward the sound. His heart began to beat faster. Crying in this part of the city made no sense. Children were never alone here. Not alien children, never. He took a careful step forward. Near the center of the wide street, beneath a tall glowing tower, a small figure sat on the cold metal floor. It was a child, a small alien child. She was sitting with her knees pulled close to her chest, arms wrapped tightly around them. Her skin was a soft shade of purple, marked with faint glowing lines that pulsed slowly. Her ears were small and pointed. Her hands trembled as she tried to wipe tears from her face. She looked very young, too small, too alone. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Every rule he knew told him to turn away. Alien children were not to be approached. Humans were not allowed to interfere. Even looking too long could bring trouble. But the child was crying, and no one else was coming. Ethan slowly moved closer and knelt down a few steps away from her. He kept his hands visible, open, empty. He spoke gently, careful not to raise his voice. "Are you lost?" he asked. The alien child lifted her head. Her eyes were large and shining, filled with fear and tears. She looked at Ethan as if she was trying to understand what he was, as if she had never seen a human this close before. Her lips trembled. Then she spoke. "My mom told me to wait." Her voice was small, thin, almost breaking. Ethan paused. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small food packet. He held it out slowly. "You must be hungry," he said. The child looked at the food, then shook her head. "My mom told me to wait." Ethan tried again. "We can take you somewhere safe," he said. "You don't have to stay here." The child's hands tightened around her legs. She shook her head again, harder this time. "My mom told me to wait." Each word sounded the same. Practiced, repeated. Ethan's daughters watched quietly. One of them stepped closer, her eyes filled with worry. "She looks scared," the girl whispered. Ethan nodded slowly. He felt it too. Something was not right. This was not a lost child. This was not an accident. The child was not waiting for help. She was waiting because she had been told to. Ethan looked around the empty city. The lights seemed dimmer now. The hum of machines felt louder, closer. The silence pressed down on them, like a warning. "What are you waiting for?" Ethan asked softly. The child did not answer. She only whispered again, almost like a prayer. "My mom told me to wait." A strange chill ran through Ethan's body. Whatever this child was waiting for, it was not far away, and when it arrived, the city would not stay silent anymore. Ethan stayed kneeling in front of the alien child, his mind racing. Every rule he knew was screaming at him to leave. Humans were not allowed to interfere with alien children. The punishment was severe. Arrest, disappearance, sometimes worse. Ethan had seen it happen before. But this was not just a rule anymore. This was a child sitting alone on cold metal, shaking with fear. Ethan slowly stood up and looked around the empty street. The towers above them hummed softly, their blue lights pulsing in slow patterns. No guards, no drones, no movement. That was wrong. This area was never unguarded. "Stay close to me," Ethan whispered to his daughters. They nodded. One of his daughters took a small step forward and spoke gently. "It's okay," she said. "We won't hurt you." The alien child looked at her for the first time. Her eyes widened slightly. She stared at the human girl as if confused, curious, afraid. Then she looked away again and repeated the same words. Quieter now. "My mom told me to wait." Ethan felt a knot form in his chest. Waiting for what? He noticed something he had missed before. On the child's arm, just beneath her skin, faint glowing symbols moved slowly. They were not random. They were changing, shifting, counting. Ethan's breath caught. He leaned closer, careful not to touch her. The symbols were numbers. They were going down. Ethan stepped back quickly. "Girls," he said softly, "don't get closer." The air around them felt different now. Heavy. As if the city itself was holding its breath. Suddenly, the blue lights along the walls flickered. Once, twice. Then they went steady again. Ethan's heart pounded. City lights did not flicker without reason. Far above them, something moved. A deep sound echoed between the towers, low and distant, like thunder trapped inside metal. The alien child stiffened. Her hands tightened into small fists. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "She's scared," Ethan's daughter whispered. The child nodded slightly, as if she understood the words. "Yes," she said softly, "but I must wait." Ethan swallowed hard. "Did your mother tell you why?" he asked. The child shook her head. She said, "If I move, bad things happen." Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. This was not a normal city. This was not a normal child. Something big was coming, and she was part of it. A faint, mechanical sound echoed closer now. Heavy footsteps. Not human, not small. Ethan grabbed his daughter's hands. "We need to decide," he whispered to himself. If he stayed, he risked everything. If he left, he would abandon her. The footsteps stopped nearby. From the shadows between two towers, tall figures emerged. Alien enforcers. Their armor was dark and smooth, reflecting the blue city lights. Their faces were hidden behind masks. Their eyes glowed faintly red. They moved without sound. One of them raised a hand. "Human," a cold voice said. "Step away from the child." Ethan's body froze. His daughters trembled behind him. The alien child looked up at the enforcers. Her breathing grew fast and uneven. "No," she whispered. "Not yet." The enforcer turned its head toward her. "The countdown has begun," it said. "You are not authorized to speak." Countdown. Ethan's eyes snapped back to the glowing numbers on her arm. They were lower now. Much lower. "What happens when it reaches 0? Ethan asked, before he could stop himself. The enforcer looked at him slowly. "You do not want to know," it replied. Ethan felt fear crawl up his spine. But beneath the fear, something else grew. Anger. This was wrong. Whatever this was, it involved using a child as part of something dangerous. Ethan stepped forward. "No," he said quietly. "I think I do." The enforcers shifted their stance. The city lights dimmed. The numbers on the child's arm glowed brighter. Time was running out. And for the first time, Ethan realized something clearly. This was the moment where humans were supposed to walk away. But if he did, everything would stay the same forever. The enforcers did not move closer, but their presence filled the street like a shadow. Ethan stood still, his daughters pressed against his back. The air felt heavy, thick with silent pressure. Even the machines in the city seemed quieter now, as if they were listening. The alien child's arm glowed brighter. The numbers beneath her skin continued to change. Slow, steady, counting down. Ethan could not look away. "How much time?" he asked, his voice tight. The enforcer paused. Its glowing eyes shifted toward the child, then back to Ethan. "Time is not measured the same way for your kind," it said. "But it is nearly over." The child began to shake harder. She hugged the small metal object in her hands and pressed her forehead against her knees. "I'm doing it," she whispered. "I'm waiting," like she said. Ethan felt something break inside him. "What did your mother tell you would happen?" he asked gently. The child hesitated. "She said, people would come," the girl said softly. "Some would be kind, some would not." One of the enforcers stepped forward. "That is enough," it said. "Human, remove yourself." Ethan did not move. Behind him, his younger daughter whispered, "Papa, please don't leave her." That was it. Ethan turned his head slightly and looked at his daughters. Fear was clear on their faces, but so was something else. Understanding. They knew this moment mattered. Ethan took a slow breath and faced the enforcers again. "She's a child," he said. "Whatever you're doing, it shouldn't involve her." The enforcer's voice remained calm, almost bored. "She is not a child," it replied. "She is a signal." The word hit Ethan like a punch. "A signal?" he repeated. "Yes," the enforcer said. "A test." The city lights dimmed further. Blue glow faded into deep shadows. Above them, the sky shimmered faintly, as if something unseen was pressing against it. "A test for who?" Ethan asked. The enforcer turned slightly, as if considering whether a human was worth the answer. "For your species." Ethan's stomach dropped. "For humans?" he said. "Yes," the enforcer replied. "Your kind has existed among the stars for generations, always watching, always obeying, always surviving." The child lifted her head slowly. "My mom said humans feel pain," she whispered. "But they still help." Ethan swallowed. The enforcer continued. "Many species were tested before you. They failed." "How?" Ethan asked. "They chose safety over innocence," the enforcer said. "Order over compassion." Ethan's heart raced. The child was not bait. She was proof. The glowing numbers reached a new stage. They began to pulse faster now. Ethan noticed movement at the edges of the street. Humans. Workers. Cleaners. They had stopped what they were doing. They were watching from doorways and shadows, drawn by the strange silence and dim lights. One by one, they stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough to see. The enforcer noticed them. "This gathering is unauthorized," it said loudly. "Disperse." No one moved. Ethan felt a strange strength rise inside him. Not power, not courage, responsibility. He knelt beside the alien child. "I'm here," he said softly. The child looked at him with wide eyes. "You might get hurt," she said. Ethan smiled sadly. "So might you," he replied. The metal object in the child's hands suddenly activated. A low hum spread through the street. The numbers on her arm dropped faster now. Seconds. The enforcers raised their weapons. "This is your final warning," one said. Ethan stood. He placed himself fully between the enforcers and the child. Behind him, other humans stepped forward. One, then another, then more. They did not speak. They simply stood. The city lights flickered wildly. The sky above cracked with light. The countdown reached its final moments. And for the first time in history, humans were not waiting to be told what to do. They were choosing. The street was no longer empty. Humans stood in silence behind Ethan, forming a loose line across the metal road. They were workers, cleaners, technicians, people who had spent their lives looking down, moving aside, staying quiet. Now they stood still. The alien enforcers raised their weapons. Red light gathered at the barrels, sharp and dangerous. The hum of energy filled the air, making Ethan's ears ring. "Move," the lead enforcer commanded. "This moment does not belong to you." Ethan did not step back. He felt fear. His hands shook slightly, but his feet stayed planted. "It does belong to us," he said. "You brought it to our streets." The alien child clutched the metal object tighter. The glow from her arm spread across her skin now, lighting her face from below. Tears ran freely down her cheeks. "I waited," she whispered. "I did everything right." Ethan knelt beside her again. "You did," he said. "You really did." One of the enforcers turned its head upward. The sky above the city began to change. The smooth artificial clouds rippled like water. Lines of light spread across the dome, cracking it open inch by inch. A deep sound rolled through the city so powerful it vibrated through bones and metal alike. The humans gasped. Something massive was arriving. "This is your last chance," the enforcer said. "Step away, and you will not be punished." Ethan looked back at the humans behind him. Some were trembling, some were crying, but none of them moved away. Instead, a human woman stepped forward and stood beside Ethan. Then, another. And another. "We're tired," the woman said quietly. "Tired of pretending we don't see." The enforcers paused. That hesitation lasted only a second, but it was enough. The child's device let out a clear, sharp tone. The countdown ended. 0. The sky broke open. A vast alien vessel appeared above the city, larger than any structure below. Its surface shimmered with shifting colors, not hostile, not calm but watchful. A beam of light descended and stopped just above the child. The enforcers immediately lowered their weapons and dropped to one knee. Every alien in the area did the same. The humans stared in shock. A voice echoed through the city, not loud but impossible to ignore. It did not come from the ship alone. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. Test complete. The child lifted her head. Her tears stopped. Ethan felt his breath catch. "What test?" he whispered. The voice answered, "This child was placed among you to observe your choice." Images appeared in the air around them, holograms, clear and sharp. Scenes from other worlds, other cities, other species, alien children crying, alien adults watching. No one stepping forward, no one helping. The voice continued, "Many species claim intelligence. Few show mercy." The images changed. They showed Ethan kneeling, his daughters watching, humans standing together, choosing to stay, to protect a child not their own, the voice said. Despite risk, despite fear, the humans felt something shift deep inside them. Pride. The enforcers remained kneeling, silent. The test was not about power, the voice said. It was about character. The beam of light faded. The child stood up slowly. She looked different now, calmer, stronger. She walked to Ethan and took his hand. Her skin no longer glowed with numbers, only light. "My mom said you might be scared," she said softly. "But you would stay." Ethan felt tears in his eyes. "What happens now?" he asked. The massive ship lowered slightly, filling the sky. "Now," the voice said, "humanity is seen." Across the city, screens turned on. Across the planet, messages spread. Across the stars, the signal traveled. Humans were no longer invisible. They were no longer just workers. They were witnesses, protectors. The enforcers stood slowly, no longer towering, no longer threatening. One of them spoke. "We were wrong," it said. Ethan looked around at the humans beside him. They were still afraid, but they were standing tall. For the first time, the city did not feel silent. It felt alive. The city did not return to normal. It could not. After the massive ship appeared, nothing felt the same. The blue lights along the towers glowed brighter. Steady now, no longer cold. Screens across the streets activated, showing the same message again and again. Humanity has been acknowledged. Ethan stood quietly, the alien child still holding his hand. Around them, humans whispered in disbelief. Some cried openly. Others simply stared at the sky, unable to speak. The enforcers rose slowly from their knees. Their movements were careful now, controlled. They no longer pointed weapons. They no longer gave orders. They waited. That alone felt unreal. The voice from the sky spoke again, calmer this time. "For generations, humans have lived under observation," it said. "You were judged weak because you lacked physical strength. You were judged dangerous because you felt deeply." The humans listened. Ethan felt his daughters press close to him. "Today," the voice continued, "you showed restraint instead of fear, compassion instead of obedience." Images appeared again, but these were different. They showed humans across the city, repairing machines, cleaning halls, carrying supplies, quiet acts, small kindnesses, moments no one had ever noticed. "Strength does not always roar," the voice said. "Sometimes it stands still." The alien child looked up at the ship. "My mom is watching," she said softly. Ethan nodded. "I think she's proud," he replied. A new figure appeared in the beam of light, an alien woman, tall and graceful, her presence calm but powerful. She looked at the child with warmth and relief. The child let go of Ethan's hand and walked toward her. "Mama," she said. The alien woman knelt and embraced her tightly. "Thank you for waiting," she whispered. Then she turned and faced Ethan. "You chose her safety over your own," she said. "That choice will echo far beyond this city." Ethan felt uncomfortable under her gaze. "I just did what felt right," he said. The alien woman smiled gently. That is why it mattered. Across the city, authority systems began to change. Human work restrictions were lifted. Curfews were removed. Barriers fell open. Aliens who once ignored humans now watched them with something new in their eyes. Respect. News spread fast. Other worlds received the message. Humanity had passed a test no one knew existed. On distant planets, alien leaders debated. Some were afraid. Others were curious. A few were hopeful. If humans could protect a child without power, what else could they do? Ethan returned home that night with his daughters. The streets were brighter. People spoke openly now. Humans stood straighter. Their voices carried. One of Ethan's neighbors, an old man who had never smiled before, nodded at him with pride. "You did good," he said. Ethan shook his head. "We all did," he replied. Days passed. Then weeks. Human representatives were invited to councils for the first time, not as servants, as observers, as voices. Ethan refused fame. He returned to work, but things were different. Aliens greeted him. Some thanked him. Some apologized. One day, a message arrived. A simple one. The alien child wanted to see him. Ethan brought his daughters to the meeting place. The child ran to them, laughing now, no fear in her eyes. "You stayed," she said happily. "Yes," Ethan replied. "We stayed." She smiled. "My mom says humans are strange," she said. "You feel fear, but you don't let it choose for you." Ethan knelt and looked at her. "We've had a lot of practice," he said. The child giggled. Far above them, the stars felt closer. Humanity had not changed the galaxy with weapons. They changed it by refusing to walk away. And somewhere deep among the stars, a truth was spreading. If humans choose to protect something fragile, they become unstoppable. The galaxy did not change overnight, but it began to shift. Slowly, quietly, in ways no empire could stop. After the test, human worlds were no longer hidden behind labor zones and permission walls. Their names appeared on star maps. Their languages were translated. Their histories were requested. For the first time, the galaxy wanted to understand humans, not control them. Ethan did not see most of this at first. His life returned to something close to normal. He worked. He cared for his daughters. He walked the same streets, though they no longer felt as cold or empty. People smiled more. They looked up more. The silence that once meant danger now felt like peace. One evening, Ethan and his daughters stood on a balcony, overlooking the city. The towers still rose high, but their lights felt warmer now, softer. "Papa," one of his daughters asked, "did we do something big?" Ethan thought for a moment. "I think," he said slowly, "we did something small, at the right time." Far above them, a familiar ship appeared in the sky, not threatening, not sudden. It hovered gently, like a visitor asking permission. A message arrived moments later. A request. Ethan was invited to speak before the Galactic Assembly. He almost refused. He was not a leader. He was not a soldier. He was not important. But then he remembered the child's words. "You stayed." So he went. The assembly hall was massive, filled with beings of every shape and size. Powerful species sat on high platforms. Machines translated every sound. Ethan stood alone at the center, small, human, unarmed. He felt fear rise, but he did not turn away. "You were tested," one of the elders said. "You were not informed. You did not consent." Ethan nodded. "That's true," he said. "Why did you stay?" another voice asked. "You had nothing to gain." Ethan looked around the hall. "I didn't stay because it would change the galaxy," he said. "I stayed because she was a child, and someone had to." The hall went silent. "You risked extinction," the elder said. "Yes," Ethan replied. "But if we lose who we are to survive, then what's the point?" The words carried farther than he expected. Across the stars, across species, the alien child watched from beside her mother. She smiled. The assembly reached a decision. Humans would no longer be ranked as a lesser species. They would serve as guardians, neutral protectors in conflict zones, child evacuations, and humanitarian missions across the galaxy. Because humans had proven something rare, they would act without being ordered. Years passed. Human ships traveled among the stars, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as those who stood between the powerful and the powerless. Wherever a child cried in war zones, humans arrived. Wherever a species feared extinction, human listened. Ethan grew older. His daughters grew strong. One day, he watched a broadcast from a distant world. Humans stood between armed forces and a group of frightened children, alien children. No weapons fired, no orders shouted. Just humans, standing still, protecting. The alien child, no longer small, appeared beside Ethan. "You changed everything," she said. Ethan shook his head gently. "No," he replied. "We just refused to walk away." She looked at the stars. "My mother says the galaxy learned something important," she said. "What's that?" Ethan asked. She smiled. "That humans are dangerous," she said. Ethan laughed softly. "Dangerous how?" she answered without hesitation. "Because once you decide something is worth protecting, you never stop." The stars shone brighter that night. And across the galaxy, one truth remained. Humanity did not rise because of strength, not because of weapons, not because of fear. They rose because, when a small voice said, "My mom told me to wait," humans chose to stay.